Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Today, our topic of discussion is education system in madrasa. This is subject of contemporary issues and trends in education. The code of this subject is EDU 381. It is lecture number 6. The outlines of lectures are definition of madrasa, historical evolution of madrasa, understanding madrasa landscape, madrasa in Pakistan, and then main religious thoughts and education system of madrasa. So first of all, we see that what is meant by madrasa and mainstreaming. In Arabic, madrasa is the Arabic word for any type of educational institution, whether secular or religion. So this is one of the concept in Arabic. Literature says that those institutions which impart religious education through their own curriculum instead of one prescribed by the Ministry of Education, Government of Pakistan. So this is what the literature said. Then what is its concept globally or politically? So it is a mindset that madrasa or the institution to radicalize people. Then mainstreaming is that the practice of educating students with the special needs, the main current of the river or stream. Now we define madrasa. In general, madrasa refer to the traditional form of Islamic education consisting of a core curriculum of a variety of Islamic subjects. The term madrasa, translated variously as madrasa, madrasas, etc., has been used in many different ways. In short, a religious seminary. In Arabic, madrasa simply means school. In Pakistan, religious schools are therefore typically referred to as Dini madrasas, whether Dini translates as religious, while madrasa is plural of madrasa in Arabic. So the 2015 and 2016, so Pakistan education statistics, for example, define Dini madaris, as educational institutions in which formal religious education is provided. So if we translate the word madrasa, so that has been chosen since it seems to be the most commonly used. So furthermore, when referring madrasa, so it is implied that these institutions are private in nature and not part of the public school system in terms of financing. So while oversight and registration from the public system may or may not take place. So finally, it is important to stress that expression is used interchangeably with the term religious seminary. So as I have said that in Pakistan, religious schools are therefore typically referred to as Dini Madaris, where Dini translates as a religious, while Madaris is a plural of Madrasa in Arabic. So now, what is historical evolution of Madrasa? So Madrasa as a concept and as an institution has changed over time, both in its contents and contours. The first known madrasa is said to have been established in 1005 AD by the Fatimid Caliph in Egypt. So this madrasa taught the Shiite minorities version of Islam. So however, an inventory catalogue of the madrasa has shown that the madrasa also had thousands of volumes on the other subjects, including astronomy, architecture, and philosophy. So The Madaris were largely informal in their methods of teaching, with the curriculum being rather flexible in a combination of rationalism, such as mathematics and logics, and religious subjects. So, when the Sunni Muslims conquered Egypt in the 10th century, so they replaced the Shiite version of Islam in this madrasa with a Sunni version. So, a huge number of books were then taken to Baghdad when Nazimul Mulk Hassan bin al Tusi and Seljuk Wazir established the first organized and formal madrasa education system in the Muslim world in 1067 AD. So, from the 12th century, a madrasa system also emerged in India, so which was consolidated under the Mughal Empire. The madrasa were largely informal in their method of teaching, with the curriculum being rather flexible in the combination of rationalist, such as mathematics and logics, and religious subjects. So, under the British colonial rules, a process of exclusion of the madrasas from the formal economy and society in Pakistan began, and it continued in the independence period. So, the madrasa were largely informal in their method of teaching. Understand? So, this is what the establishment of British colonial rule in India dramatically changed the rule of madrasa education in South Asia, making it irrelevant to the state and economy by introducing Western institutions and English as the official language. So, this led to the major shift in the curriculum in madrasas toward a strict focus on religious aspects. So, in this period, the first institutional madrasa was established in Deoband in 1867, running on donation from internal Muslim communities. So, thus, the foundation or madrasa funding based on public donations that was laid, and it continues until this day. So, the Deobandi movement introduced institutionalized institutionalized delivery of Islamic education characterized by paid staff. So, a full library, a set curriculum, formal examination, and certification upon graduation. So, the Islamic scholar of the Deoband madrasas emphasized a puritanical school of Islamic thoughts, which soon led to the emergence of sister madrasas, and today the school of thought has the largest number of madrasas in South Asia. So, under British colonial rule, a process of exclusion of madrasa from the formal economy and society in Pakistan began, and it continued in the independence period. So, reform of madrasa system in Pakistan were discussed soon, just after independence, and under the political leadership of General Ayub Khan, who by the coup gained power in 1958. So, he was very vocal in his criticism of the madrasa system and wanted the religious establishment to meet the demand of modernity. So, then in the 1980s, the national government in Pakistan attempted a reform program, but it was not until 2001 that a formal reform program was launched with the assistance from the US under the banner "The War on Terror." These reforms have met severe resistance from the religious elite in Pakistan, and to date, the traditional religious exercise full control over the interpretation of Islamic text. So, understanding the madrasa's landscape, the role of madrasa in the education landscape in Afghanistan and Pakistan is a sensitive issue, and data on the number of madrasas are often absent based on the rough estimate or conflicting. As in Pakistan, the madrasas in Afghanistan have also been central institution of learning for centuries, not for Yes, this is for centuries. So various Afghan regimes have attempted to transform the influential religious landscape in line with their interpretation of Afghanistan. So, in the 1920, the modernization program initiated by King Ghazi Amir Amanullah Khan, he sought to transform the country into the modern nation state through wide ranging reforms, among them major educational reforms. So, King Amanullah reforms were mindful of the ulama commanding and authority over education and were caused as complementing rather than competing with the traditional madrasa system. Then in September 1928, Amanullah proposed a number of reforms to the Afghan Loya Jirga. So that is grand means Grand Assembly. So that targeted the religious establishment and thereby the madrasa system. So the ulama considered them reform proposal as an act of aggression, leading to civil war and the overthrow of Amanullah in 1929. Then, taking into account what happened to the King Amanullah, the consequent regimes, King Nadir Shah's 4-year reign, that was from 1929 to 1933, and his successor King Zahir Shah reign, that was from 1933 to 1970. So they arguably attempted a more cautious approach in relations to introducing new educational reforms, paving the way for general education that gradually take root in Afghanistan. So many of the educational reforms institutions during the period did not trigger the same reaction as against Amanullah reform. So in 1936, then Zahir Shah established the first regime financed madrasa in Afghanistan in Abu Hanifa to serve as a bridge between the government and the religious scholars in the country. So during the 1930 and 40, official madrasas in Kabul, Herat, Mazar Sharif, Tahar, Faryab, Kandahar, Jalalabad, and Paktia was established by the government to formalize higher religious education and to train judge of Sharia. So the gradually introduced reforms and regulations of the madrasas were non-coercive and also implemented with the cooperation from Islamic religious scholars. The progress, however, was handed with the advent of communism in the 1960s and 70s. So in Afghan society and the effort of different system based entirely on communism principles. Then, how many madrasas are in Pakistan? The precise number of madrasas in Pakistan is unknown. The Pakistan education statistics as per 2015 and 2016 estimated that there are more than 32,000 formal degree providing madrasas in Pakistan, out of which 97% are in the private sector. So it is estimated that the total enrollment for the period of 2015 to 16 was 2.26 million. So the estimated number of madrasas for the 2013-14 period was about 13,000. So prime facie the looks like significant increase in number of madrasas, but in reality this was due to increase in efficiency of relevant government departments to count the number of madrasas in addition to the geotagging. So this was done by provincial government under the national action plan that was devised in early 2015 as the comprehensive counter terrorism and counter extremism strategy. What are the main religious thoughts? Main religious thoughts are Wafakul Madaris al Arabia. This is thought of Deobandi. Then Tanzimul Madaris Ahl Sunnat Barelvi. Wafakul Madaris al Salafia Ahl Hadith. And Wafakul Madaris al Shia, that is for Shia people. And Rabitul Madaris al Islamia, Jamaat Islami, or then. So these are the main 5 religious schools of thoughts. There are madaris in Pakistan, and Deobandi, Brelvi, Shia, Al Hadith, and Jamaat Islami. So these five school of thoughts have established their own separate madrasas board and approved by the government, recognized by the Higher Education Commission. So these boards are responsible for coordinating and running the affairs of respective madrasas with regards to their examination in such a way that these boards set syllabus, conduct exams, the regular madrasas, and their respective schools of thoughts. So in addition, what are the levels of madrasa? So in addition, Higher Education Commission also recognizes some independent degree awarding institutions that are not affiliated with any of the above mentioned boards. So these include Jamia Islamia, Minhajul Quran, Model Town Lahore, Jamia Talimat Islamia, this is Sargoda Road, Jamia Ashrafia, Ferozpur Road Lahore, then Darul Aloom Muhammadiyya Gausiya, Behra District Sargoda, and Darul Aloom Kurangi Creek. So according to the Higher Education Commission, the approved mode of education for recognition of final degree in religious education, these are Dini Sanat, is the middle school certificate, 8 years of certificate as entrance requirements, and that is for different levels. Before going to the level of madrasas, here I would say that there are some degrees like Shahadatul Sanviya Ama, this is 2 year of study. This is equivalent to secondary school certificate or 10th grade. Then Shahadatul Sanviya Khasa, this is 2 year program of study, equivalent to intermediate, 12 years education. And then Shahadatul Al-Aliya, this is 2 years of study, equivalent to graduation, 14 years of education. Then Shahadatul Almiya, 2 years of study, equivalent to MA Arabic or Islamic studies, 16-year education. So now we discuss that what are the level of madrasas. There are 4 levels. The first one is Nazra, then Hafiz, then Dars-e Nizami, and then Takhasas. So first of all, we see that what is Nazira. So these madrasas impart primarily knowledge and are restricted to teaching their students recitation of the Quran. Such madrasas could be found attached to almost all mosques and requires the comparatively least amount of financial resources. So usually the Imam Masjid, prayer means leader, teach students early in the morning or in the evening how to read Arabic and properly recite the Quran. At this level, students remain in the madrasas for only about an hour a day. So Hifz, in addition to basic reading of the Quran, memorization or rote learning of the Quran is undertaken in the Hifz madrasa. So these madrasas are also most common within the mosque, either with or without accommodation facilities. So there are 2 types of Hifz madaris, like the first one is Iqamati, means boarding schools. Students stay in the madrasas for as long as they memorize the Quran. So the students get 1 day off per week to see their parents, and 1.5 months vacation during Ramzan and Eid. So usually students becomes a Hafiz, the one who means memorizes the complete Quran in 2.5 to 3 years. 2.5 or 3 years. So such madrasas require more financial resources, as dining and living expenses for the students as provided by the madrasa. So in addition to other miscellaneous expenses are also there. So the second part, or you can say the type of this Hifz, that is Ghair Iqamati, means day school. Students just spend 8 to 10 hours per day in these madrasas and then go back to home. So hence no stay in the madrasa is required, and therefore comparatively few financial resources are required to establish and run such madrasas, especially when such madrasas are established within a mosque. So then the third one is Dars-e Nizami. So this is generally provide 8 years of education in which the Quran, its translation, tafsir, explanation of Quran, books of sayings of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Islamic jurisprudence, Arabic and Persian language, and sporting subjects are taught. So the causes, so this level offers specialization courses including Mufti, who can issue a fatwa, and Qazi, just a judge in Islamic Sharia justice system. So now there are general views about Madaris in Pakistan. So Madaris in Pakistan drew renowned focus from foreign governments after the London bombing in 2005, which resulted in pressure on the Pakistani government to undertake new reforms of religious schools. So in post 2001, however, the two countries gradually introduced stricter measures for madrasa enrollment, which made it hard for Afghan to continue religious studies in Pakistan. So the madrasa in Pakistan do renowned focus from foreign governments. Clear? So Pakistan, the Pakistan People Party government 2018 to 13 introduced additional initiatives to reform madrasa system. Registration was made mandatory for educational boards of all five schools of thoughts, and inter madrasa boards now had to attest degree of VFOX. Only positive development was made with the formation of common platform of Itihad Tanzimat Madaris Pakistan, through which it was hoped that the Madaris would work in coordination for reforms. So the reforms mentioned that the English language would be introduced in the madrasas, which had previously only used Arabic literature. So fundraising and resources generation ways of madrasas were also taken into account. And another tool in the reforms was the Pakistani government launching crackdown on Afghan madrasas teachers and mosque imams in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, removing hundreds of madrasa teachers and mosque imams, and thereby forcing them to return to Afghanistan. So this was all about the lectures today. Thank you very much. Stay blessed. Allah Hafiz.